work style, and even a brand new work philosophy. I will show you these zones one by one with series of videos. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, my name is Karina. Today I'm going to take you to a tour on our beautiful campus by Songshan Lake. The Osthorn campus is located in Songshan Lake District, Dongguan. It's about 40 kilometers away from Huawei's headquarters in Shenzhen. In Chinese, the campus is called Xiliu Beipo, which means the river slope with streams and brooks. The Osthorn campus is 300 acres and is divided into 12 zones, and each zone has its unique European styles. And it covers over 120,000 square meters to provide office space for up to 2,000 employees. Employees at this campus have 50% more office space than those in our Shenzhen facilities. There are 2 large canteens, a chain stop, and at least 2 coffee shops and convenience stores in each zone. The buildings are mostly only a few stories tall, so you can go to your office by stairs. This encourages our employees to adopt a healthier, greener lifestyle. Also, you can go from one zone to another on the electric trams. The Osthorn campus offers the convenience of modern life and the opportunities to close to nature. It represents a new work style and even a brand new work philosophy. I will show you these zones one by one with series of videos. Stay tuned.
So today we also have been challenged on being solution-oriented leaders. So yeah, we apologize for the inconvenience. However, you already heard a lot of parts of Carsten's presentation. I saw a lot of engagement already. So he is being very generous and nice to us and gives us more space to actually share his story further on and give more space to you. So thank you also a lot to Carsten, who also gives you the space to learn from him and engage together with him. And with this, I want to give it to him, and we continue on the part of development of current crisis.
Okay, so we are back. Sorry for the inconvenience. I think we stopped at this slide, so I will start again from this slide. In fact, I think we talked already like 10 minutes or something without knowing that we were interrupted. So okay, just to make it short. I mean, we had already many crises before now, and the current crisis also already started like more than 10 years ago, and it culminated in December 2018 when the CFO of Huawei was detained in Canada, and she is still detained in Canada, and she is the daughter of the founder of the company, which makes it even more delicate, I would say. And for me, this was really a very big, also personal challenge, because I started as head of corporate communications in Huawei, Germany, just 1 month before that, in November 2018. I had joined the company in 2010, but in different functions. So I started, and just one month later, it really got heavy. I remember very clearly the day of 1st December 2018 when I woke up in the morning and I saw all these news. And during the following months, the situation got more and more serious. Huawei was excluded from supply chains and so on. I think most of you know the story. So and this is lasting until today. And for me, as head of corporate communications for media communication in Germany, I had to face all this kind of headlines in German media, like you can see here. Most of them are really not based on facts. There are a lot of rumors inside, sometimes even some lies, which are not generated by media but by other persons. And that was the field that we were facing. And what we were doing was always just to stay focused on our strategy, on our target, not to let us distract by by unnecessary information, by unnecessary details and so on. And I think that is also something that everybody who is working, who's being a leader, should always focus on the main target and main strategy. So that's what we have done. We tried to talk to as many media as possible during the last 2 years. For example, just alone in 2019, I flew more than 20 times to China with media delegations to show them our company, to be as transparent as possible, to let them understand how our company is really thinking and ticking. So, and with all this, our values and our beliefs, I think, helped us a lot. The whole company and all employees who are working for the company, they really are breathing this kind of culture. So, and the key and core value that we are living in Huawei is the so-called customer centricity. That is maybe something that a lot of companies would say, oh yes, we are customer centric, but we are really living it to a very high extent. We try to always create new values for our customers. We are listening to our customers and are researching and developing really according to the needs of customers. This has made us always strong and successful, even at times when our technology was not that advanced than all our competitors. Because we started as a very small company, and at that time, we had to compete with very big companies like Siemens and so on, like 30 years ago. But we still could survive, and we could compete because we were really so customer focused. And I think that this is something that a lot of people can use in many industries to make the life of customers easier. So this is the first point, customer centricity, which is our strategic focus and has always been and will always be. And the second one is what you see here at the bottom of the slide is growing by reflection. That is something that we hope all our employees can have, and what all our leaders, including myself, are always trying to do, and also trying to motivate everybody in the company. And it doesn't matter if you have failed or if you have succeeded, but think about what were the strengths, what were the weaknesses, and try to improve them and make it better and better and better by doing it again and again. So this is also something, I mean, we can fail. It is in our company, it is possible to fail, and I also accept my team members to fail, but they just should think about it and try it again. I think this is very important for all kinds of leaders. It also shows trust into your team members and gives them more strength and more self-confidence to do something better the next time. So these are the core values of Huawei as a company, corporate core values. And then on the next slide, you can see the mindset that we need and that we are living by ourselves. And for me, my favorite mindset is openness. I think that's something that I had already when I was a student. So it was, but when I worked for Huawei, I really learned more and more what it really means. Openness really can be used in all whatever you're doing. If you are developing technology, if you are doing business, if you are living in foreign countries, if you are working in intercultural teams, openness is always very important. It means that you do not just at once neglect any new kind of thinking, any new kind of technology or cultures or businesses, but to collect them first, observe them, analyze them, and then mix them together and find new solutions, new ways, innovations, creativity. And that is out of the box thinking that is really important, especially, but not only in these high innovative industries. And of course, it helps in teams. When you are working in intercultural teams, you have to accept that people are different, and you will realize that it's even good that they are different, because when you are different, then you have much more ideas. You can bring much more perspectives together, mix them, and find really new ideas. That's really nice. Sometimes it's difficult, but you can work on it. So the second one is passion. I, by myself, I think I am a very passionate person. Always have been, sometimes also emotional, which I have to control then. But yeah, passion is whatever work you are doing. I think when you are passionate about it, then you will be successful, and then you will like it. So you have to be interested in what you're doing. Be curious. I mean, everybody who's working in research and technologies, I think he's curious. He wants to find new ways. As I was always curious for different countries. That's something that I might have together with you, because you are all students of AIESEC. What I think means that you are at least interested in a lot of foreign countries. And this, because this will give you the possibility to learn a lot and to grow. Then the third is resilience. Resilience is something that, for example, I didn't have before. This is something that I received by experience, by new knowledge, or by overcoming challenges for the first time, for example. Especially when you are in a crisis, you need to be resilient. And it would be good to start with some small challenges. For example, what I'm always doing is to do the things that I've never done before, where I have no experience in, and especially the things where I'm afraid of. So that is something where you really can learn the most from, and you will feel that you as a person, you're growing and growing and growing. There are less and less fields that you are afraid of, or that you think, or you are not able to do it. Just do it. Just do the things that you have never done before. Don't stay in your own comfort zone, and do new things to learn. And this is also something that we as a company, and I also on my team, we are really living it. We are always letting our employees do very new things. For example, here Hazel, my colleague, she's a very good example for this. She came here to Germany in June 2019, and she had never before been to Germany, never before to Europe or any foreign countries, never learned German before, and also never worked in the field, in this communication field that we are doing here. But she just did it. As a jump into the cold water, and you learn a lot. I think during this 1 or 2 years, she really has developed enormously, and that's something that really I think everybody is able to do. Yeah, and then of course the last one is ambition. I think everybody who wants to become a leader has, of course, a strong desire for success. Go to new challenges, find new goals, and continue to always surpass yourself, and you will grow and grow and grow. So that's what I can say. What you can do to become not only a very good employee, but also a leader and an example for others. That's also something I guess what is important, and what I learned in Huawei, by the way, also to be and to try to be an example for others. That's very important, and it also means that you enable your team members to grow. Don't try to restrict them in any field, and and you should not be afraid that they get stronger than you, because you by yourself, you will never be the strongest in every field. There will always be persons who are in some fields better than you, and this is a good thing, because they will enrich the whole team. They will be happy that they can grow, and there will be much more mutual trust within your team if everybody has the opportunity to grow. So that's about my thinkings of of leadership. This is something, this is more an internal slide about how we think people can become thought and visionary leaders. It has a lot to do with knowledge, skills, and especially experience. With all this together, you can develop your new thoughts and visions that enable you really to be a pre-thinking leader for your own team, but maybe also for the whole company. Yeah. So, wait, next. Doesn't work. Yes. So yeah, the second last point that I would like to tell you, and that is something that is really my interest and my wish. I mean, we are living in times in a time of very, very big changes, and for me there are two main fields of changes that we are facing, and what also our company Huawei is closely related to. The first one is this huge industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, digitization of industries, digitization of our lives, digitization of our work, of the whole world. This, I really think that this will create a completely new world in the next 10 or 20 years, and I'm also quite sure that we will again see an outcome where we will have different kinds of societies than we have today, and this is really it's a big opportunity. At the same time, of course, it is a challenge. So the leaders, and it doesn't matter if you are a leader in a company or in academics or in politics, you have to cope with that. And I think that everything what I've presented to you, this openness and resilience and all this will help you to shape the world of tomorrow. Here you can just see what kind of visions we have related to digitization and how the world of tomorrow will look like. And here you also see how we as a company, we are deep into all these kind of different digitization fields in really every industry that is existing. So we are quite used to shape the digitization of the world. So this is the first field, digitization, which is a big change of our time. The second one is there's a shift of geopolitical powers, and we are in the middle of this development because there is a power shift between China and the United States of America, and we really didn't want to be in the middle of that. We just wanted to do our business and wanted to serve our customers, but we have really become one of the main targets within this conflict. So, and this I think this is the second very big challenge that not only we, but all people in any country in the world will have during the next years. And I hope that our young leaders really have the insight that only this world can only really function when we always have dialogue within all countries in the world. And I really hope that's something that I want to give you on your way. Stay open-minded, try to always understand other people, other countries, whatever happens. Don't let dialogue finish between cultures and countries. And for this, young leaders are really very important. And we, as Huawei, we have a program also where these two challenges, digitalization and also the global challenges, are discussed and lived. It's called Digital Seeds. It's a program. It's a program where we choose every year 100 students from Germany, also from other countries, but in Germany it's quite special. We are kind of a pioneer in this program in our company. So we choose every year 100 students, and we go with them 2 weeks to China. We have analyzed 3 fields that we think could be useful for young Germans to go to China and see how these fields are operated there. These fields are innovation, digitization, and entrepreneurship. I think these are the fields where China is quite strong, and we in Germany are a little bit behind at the moment. So we really hope that young people can learn something out of it. We go to 3 cities in China. It's Shenzhen, Shanghai, and Beijing. We are visiting a lot of the big high-tech companies, as well as young startups and founders. We go to visit and talk to think tanks, to visionary leaders, what they think about digitization or how they have founded companies and so on. And we also are doing ideathons together with Chinese students. So we bring German and Chinese students together and let them develop completely new ideas by using their different experiences from their societies. So I think the time is running out, so I would stop here. If people are more interested in the program, I have more information about it here, but I leave that aside for today. Maybe if there's more interest, I can also talk a little bit about in the discussion. So first, yeah, thank you very much for listening, and I'm now very curious about any kind of questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Karina. I'm going to introduce you the Heidelberg Dome. The Heidelberg Dome is built for one of Germany's oldest university, Heidelberg University. It was built with the red sandstone and the pastern mirrors along with the streets. As you can see here, there are all the green plant flowers on the wall. And also during the break, when you see those green plants, you will feel very relaxed. You may also sit down and have a cup of coffee in this small square, which modern meets traditional. Look, the self-driving delivery vehicle parked at the gate of the office building is also taking a break.
I hope you enjoyed the keynote. We had it in 2 parts, but it was still very interesting to see. Thank you very much, Carsten, for already having a great introduction into the topic of how crises shape leaders. It is very appreciated. And now we want to use this space to actually build up on this further and make sure that we have also an interactive conversation where we build up on the guests that we have and also on the questions that come in. And for this, I would like to give the space to the 4 guests that are already here to also introduce themselves. Carsten, you already know by now, so I want to make sure that all of you are also aware who is visiting us.
Yes, thank you, Dennis, and thank you very much, Carsten, for this really insightful keynote. I really liked it. I'm John from the committee in Mainz, Wiesbaden, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking to you to get a bit more insights about how crisis can shape leaders.
Yeah, my name is Max. I'm from the LC in Hamburg. I'm president there right now. And I really enjoyed this day so far, and I'm super looking forward to our discussion. I hope we can answer as many questions as possible and ask as many questions as possible.
Yes, hello, my name is Laura and I'm currently the president of AIESEC in Göttingen, so I'm basically doing what Max does. I'm also really enjoying this day so far. Thank you, Carsten, so much for the keynote. And yes, I'm excited to get more into some more topics.
And then I finish. I'm Maria. I was the president of AIESEC in Cologne, and I'm now responsible for all content marketing of AIESEC in Germany. I'm really excited for the next part to come. Thank you, Carsten, for all this information. It was really interesting to hear. And I'm just glad to be in this panel to ask you some more information about everything of who are I.
Great. Thank you very much for introducing yourself as well. For the AIESECers joining us, you most likely know these people already, or some of them through different ways of engagement. And now when going into this topic of how crises shape leaders, what I would like to know also from our guests that join us now, when listening to Carsten's keynote, what were first things that came to your mind, or what are first questions you would like to ask him or discuss with him about?
Maybe I can just start. So in the very beginning, you talked a lot about the sense of urgency that you have in your whole company. And my first thought was that sounds super stressful. So that you say you don't really celebrate success and you always are waiting for the next danger coming around the corner. And I would like to know how you keep a positive and constructive, happy atmosphere in your teams while having this sense of urgency and not being in being constantly anxious.
I mean, I think just because we are always really working together on all these challenges, and by the way, it's not only crisis and challenges, it's always also opportunity. That's very important also to keep in mind. So we also see these kind of challenges as positive opportunities, and because we are always discussing everything together and we take decisions together and we support each other and we enable persons, I think that makes people strong, self-confident, and then in the end it also makes people happy because they see they can learn something, they can grow.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this question, Max, because it actually gives a great opportunity for the next question. I think this is one from the audience, which is, how do you as a leader engage and foster the development of the individual members of your team, especially in times of crisis?
Yes, usually we have a thinking about how we let our people grow. This is by giving them targets. The people here are developing a lot by themselves. So the leaders will not tell them every day or from morning to evening what they should do, but just give them one big target that they should reach, and how they reach it. It's really very often related to themselves. So they can really work out by their own. They can think about by their own how to do it. And they will fail sometimes, of course, especially when they are not so experienced. But by failing, they will learn and they will try it again. It's also, this culture of failure. We do not have this culture where failure is something bad or something, or that you are criticized because you fail. You just have to show that you will try again and again. So this is how we enable people, and I think that this gives people a lot of free space in their thinking, what they do and how they do things, and also in their development. And the next time, when they, for example, like Hazel here, she came new and she had targets, and maybe in the first months she did not get the targets, but she could try it again and again, and she learned a lot of this. So and this gives her much more self-confidence for the next time, and maybe the next time she can set the targets already by herself. So I, even as a leader, I don't have to tell her the targets even.
Yeah, you talked now a bit about failure, and in my opinion, you can differentiate between failure and mistakes in general. And I would like to know what you had for mistakes in your past that you learned the most out of, especially in managing teams.
Sorry, the last sentence, especially what?
Especially in managing teams. or leading teams?
Yeah, I mean, I was also for a very long time. I was not leading teams, and I think everybody can do a lot of mistakes. I also had to learn that people are different, that they do things different than how I'm doing it. That was, I think, what was the first learning from me being a team leader, that people are doing things different from myself, and I should not insist them to do the things like I'm doing it, and just let them freely doing it. And I also can learn by this, because I can learn then from them how you also can do things different from myself. So I think that what was maybe in the beginning sometimes a mistake that I have done, is to expect them to do the things that I want to, but it's not helping anybody. Yeah. But of course, at the same time, I have to be accessible by my team members. If they need advice, then I have to be accessible. This is also something that I sometimes made wrong in the past, because I was too busy by myself. For example, I'm always very busy. So, and then slowly I forced myself to be more accessible. Always have to have an open ear to the needs and wishes of the team members. Yeah, that's the second learning that I have done.
Yeah, I love that, especially because I think there are quite a few people that get the same problems in the beginning when they start leading teams. So it's, I think, a huge learning that everyone can like take with and try to improve before the mistakes even happen.
Yes, I think, I mean, that's also connected to what I said, this self-reflection, right? I mean, you have to be, nobody's perfect, and you also have to be aware about that yourself is not, you're not perfect. You can improve. So analyze what you have done wrong in the past and do it better the next time, as I have presented it in the speech. Yeah.
Yes, I'm actually interested in your values, so your own personal values, because you talked a lot about the values of who am I, and I'm interested in like, what are your values and how do they connect to your company, or why do you work where you work?
Okay. Well, I think, I mean, I studied Chinese and Japanese studies in the 90s. In Germany, China, and Japan, and out from this you can see my interest was always foreign countries, and my related value was tolerance towards other countries, tolerance towards other cultures. And I always tried and wanted to be a kind of a mediator between countries and cultures. At that time, I was not so much interested in technology, by the way. This came later. So my value is tolerance, and this is something that I really appreciate in the culture of Huawei, because this openness that I have mentioned is closely connected to my value of tolerance. Yeah, to understand new things, to accept different people. This is all completely according to my own values and interests. Yeah. And by the way, another factor that I would like to say is that I know there is a big different value discussion in the world. Nowadays, a lot of people are discussing about different values in Western countries and Eastern countries or China. I would like to emphasize that, in fact, the values are very often the same. Sometimes there are differences in the degrees of what is important for you and what is important for someone else, but the values, in fact, they're all here, and they're shared by many people, by many countries in the world. They are just emphasized in different degrees. So the first thing what I would recommend to everybody, please be aware that we have a lot of common values and common interests. This is the first thing. And about the second thing, a lot of differences are not based in our values, just in our daily habits that we have. And this is something that you learn when you are working in an intercultural team. In the beginning, it might be very strange that people are doing things very differently, but slowly you will understand why they are doing it. It's just because they have learned it in a different way, but they are not coming from different values. They still have the same interest like you. Yes, they want to be happy, they want to be safe, and so on. So these are the values, and just the habits which are above it are different. And this is something that everybody can, I think, tolerate and accept. Yeah.
I would like to. Okay.
Sorry, thank you. I absolutely agree, and I think it's a very interesting topic, especially for AIESECers, because so many of us work in intercultural teams or with intercultural people. And actually building up on this and also coming back to the topic of your whole keynote, I would like to know which behaviors of leadership, as you said, it's mainly the behaviors and not the values itself that change. So which behaviors become more vital in crisis, and where did you see that in your work and also in your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a crisis, I think the first thing is resilience of yourself. Only when yourself is resilient, then you also can how to say this, your whole team can be resilient, because you are the leader and they look on you and they ask you, what shall I do now? What shall we do now? So you have to stay calm. You have to show them the way to go. You have to show them the strategy and the targets, and trying to include them into discussions about the targets and strategies that have to be taken. So this is very important in a crisis. There are always some team members when difficult things are happening, especially when difficult things happen in the external world, where you don't have really influence on. In such kind of situation, there are always some team members who are very excited and don't know what to do and are discussing a lot. So in this situation, you need to stay calm, to bring everybody together and analyze the situation in a very objective way, and also include them into that discussion. That is very, very important. Yeah, I think that in a crisis, the first reaction that you should show as a team leader. Yeah.
It also relates to this topic basically. So it's about this intercultural openness about different behaviors and values who may be different, may not be so different. What are things that you think we as young leaders can learn from Chinese people or behaviors, and also the other way around? What can they learn from us, maybe?
Yeah, yes. I mean, there are always a lot of such kind of debates, and I really don't want to go or use cliches, you know. So it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult to answer, because I don't want to talk about any kind of stereotypes. But well, what I can say from my experience is that Chinese people, and not only at Huawei but everywhere, they are very. I think this is related to the sense of urgency. They are very active. They are doing. Yes, they are doing things. They bring power of implementation is very strong. in Chinese, with Chinese people, with Chinese employees. So sometimes you even could say they are doing something before they think about it. This is I think that's the biggest difference with Germans. Germans, we think a lot before we do things, and sometimes we don't think enough about it. Sorry, we think too long time about it, so the opportunity is already away. It has already gone away before you could use all your thoughts that you have done. So, but vice versa, of course, for strategic thinking, sometimes it also could be helpful for Chinese employees to have a little bit more of this kind of comprehensive thinking before you do things. Yeah. So I think always both sides can learn from each other. Yeah, this is the one. Then I also think that according to my experience, Chinese are a little bit better in this out of the box thinking. It might be because the Chinese society in the last 30 years has changed so much. So they are used that a lot of new influences and factors are always coming into the countries and are influencing their life in very short time windows, again and again and again. While we in Germany, I mean, for me, Germany now is the same like when I was a child. It's not so much change during the last 40 years. So that's something, I guess, which has made us a little bit slow and a little bit not so adaptable to new developments. That's something where we can be, again, more open-minded, yeah, and grab the opportunities. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
also,
sorry.
Maybe going also into this point, it's very interesting observing this conversation. One thing that also came out from the audience is the willingness to challenge and to grow and to learn, and especially on the point of cultural understanding and interaction. As you are aware, you also mentioned it in your keynote, that there are, differences in perspective, especially a lot of criticism or a lot of skepticism regarding the positioning with China and the government. What I would like to know from you, or what our audience would like to know, to give also something here, these are obviously also different, or like a complex cultural topic. It's an interaction that is always something where there are many perspectives. So here we would like to give the space also for you to address this, for example, in a more concrete way. So how would you facilitate this conversation between, for example, Western and European, Western Eastern perspectives on this topic? And where do you see also your role in this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, that's of course a topic that I am confronted with almost every day in my work and even in my private life, I have to say, because my wife is also Chinese. It's I'm confronted with that every day. And it's really not easy sometimes, I have to say, because I'm every day or very often confronted with a lot of prejudices, with a lot of misunderstandings, of wrong perceptions about other countries, about China on the one hand, on the other hand about Huawei as a company, which is really actually a private company, and it's there's no we are not together with the Chinese government and so on. This is something where I need a lot of patience, I have to say, in conversation with the external world, with media and so on, and I have to explain it again and again and again. And one big challenge within that is not to fall into a mode of always defending myself or defending the company, because this is always like a very defensive state where you come in, and it's very difficult to avoid that. But I have to. I mean, that's my job. That's my work, and I'm passionate about it. So we still have to stay open-minded. We have to look for the dialogue, and that is, I think, is exactly what we need, and what you need when you are active in other countries. And it's not only China. I mean, it's in fact for every country. Every country is different. Even within in Europe, countries are different, and in fact, even within Germany, there are differences between people. So in the end, you always have to be a little bit tolerant against others. In this Chinese field, it's much more difficult, because there are so many things that are not known in Germany. So you have to explain it again and again and again, and this is the only way. Stay calm, stay friendly, and explain the things. Yeah, that's. I don't have the perfect solution to solve this problem just within some days. I think it's also for me. I think I still need like decades. It is a long way to go until there's more mutual understanding between the cultures. I hope that there are more young people like you who are interested in other countries, because I think the world is and globalization is continuing. The world is getting smaller and smaller, and especially China and Asia are getting more and more important for us as in the economy, but I think in the future it will also be culturally. There will become more influence from also from Asia. So and we need young people who are open-minded and understand the East world. You know, I mean, the East world is now already today more than 2/3 of the world, of people living in this world are coming from Asia, 2/3, and we in Europe, we are just like around 5%. So we have to. I think we have to understand the world. We have to understand Asia and China. So just try it. Stay open-minded. Not everybody has to study Chinese studies like I have done, but I think everybody who's doing business there also is a kind of an ambassador also for our country, and is a kind of mediator to improve the relations between the countries and cultures.
Thank you a lot for also addressing it directly. I think in terms, especially when it comes to also youth leadership, it's important to have a conversation. Actually, I can relate that this maybe will be a lot of conversations that you're having, but it's also appreciated that you can also start it here, and that it hopefully will be the start of a longer communication of really understanding and learning from different perspectives, and moving ahead together and really facilitate intercultural understanding, but also in general, finding a dialogue instead of avoiding it. So this is also very appreciated. And with this, we are also coming to a close. So with this, I would like to offer you the space, Carsten, to also address things that are important for you to still express to our audience, or maybe also to our 4 amazing panel guests that joined directly. And I give it up to you.
Oh, thank you very much. I don't know how much time I still have, but I really thank you for this opportunity. And as I have already stated, for me, I really wish that first you could learn a little bit out of our conversation today. Please be curious about the world, stay open-minded, try to understand different perspectives of other people in the world. By the way, this is not only important in a global perspective. I think it's also important when we see our own societies today. You know, the gap within our own society is getting bigger and bigger, and I think that also in our own society we have to be tolerant against people who are, for example, might not be that privileged like we are, because we all are. Yes, we here, I think everybody who's listening here and who has already been to foreign countries, we are privileged. This is really something that we all should be aware of, and we should not forget the people who don't have these kind of opportunities. So yeah, stay also open-minded to your own country and to different social, with people with different social background here in Germany, in Europe, and all over the world, and try to make the world better for all our future.
With this, thank you very much, Carsten, and everyone being here, for being part of this amazing panel. Thank you also for the keynote before. I'm very much looking forward to continue the conversation in the upcoming months. And until then, I wish you a great day, all of you. And for now, I will introduce you to the next space. But now already, thank you very much for being part of this space.
Thank you. Bye.
Good. And with now, I hope you enjoyed this space. I hope you can also be impressed, just as I am, about the technical team adjusting so fast. And now I would like to introduce to you our next guest that will be coming up. My next guest will be Jendrik Peters. Jendrik is an AIESEC alumnus and founder. He is coming from AIESEC Hamburg. And together with other AIESECers, he founded Kipachi in 2014, which is his answer or his passion to education. And I'm very happy to have him with us as he is striving to apply his learnings to this, or that he had from this organization, to his future, and actively becoming the leader that he was building himself to be in this organization. So we will talk about how leaders can be shaped and how you can provide a framework for youth to blossom. So with this, we go into the break, and afterwards, I'm looking forward to have you with us in the interview. Hello, everyone watching the Youth Leadership Day. For the next conversation, we have a special guest that I would love to introduce to you. Her name is Michelle Busch. She's the representative of UNICEF Germany and is responsible for the area of young engagement. And when I asked her what youth leadership means to her or why it's relevant, she said that for her and UNICEF, youth leadership is relevant because it gives us the opportunity to actively shape the future we want to live in. And with this, I would like to say hi to Michelle. I'm very happy to have you here with us.
Hi, Dennis, and hi to everyone who's watching. I'm happy to be here.
That's very nice to hear. And yeah, looking at having you with us and representing UNICEF, I always look at the first things that come to mind, which are values and mission that organizations live. From our side, AIESEC believes that leadership is the fundamental solution and that it can be developed in anyone. We invest into developing leaders in the present that take action now and in the future for positive impact. The values that we have is striving for excellence, demonstrating integrity, enjoying participation, activating leadership, living diversity, and acting sustainably. So what I would like to know from you is, what is the UNICEF mission and the values that you have?
Well, our UNICEF mission is that we work in the world's toughest places to reach the most disadvantaged children and adolescents. And our goal is to protect the rights of every child everywhere. And across more than 190 countries and territories, we do whatever it takes to help children survive, thrive, and fulfill their potential from early childhood through adolescence. UNICEF is driven by 5 core values: care, respect, integrity, trust, and accountability. And they form the basis that guide us as the world's leading organization for children and young people. And with the help of everyone involved with UNICEF, be it our donors or volunteers, young leaders, or staff, we want to create a better world for children and thereby the next generation of leaders.
This actually sounds very interesting. And yeah, for the AIESECers of us that are watching this, you already could spot some things we have in common, like the point of integrity and the point of potential and developing humankind's potential, which is also our why and our guiding light when it comes to the mission we have. So already spotting this myself, I want to ask you also, Michelle, what do you see we have in common?
I fully agree with you. I think AIESEC and UNICEF are natural partners as we believe in international cooperation. Founded after the Second World War, we both believe that when we cooperate as partners worldwide, we can contribute to peace and fulfillment of humankind's potential. And the young generations are essential for leading the way. So we at UNICEF, in addition to that, have a special mandate to make sure that young people's voices are heard and valued. At UNICEF, we drive change for children with young people every day across the globe. And young leaders at, for example, student associations do not only generate awareness about children's worldwide, but also their active engagement as leaders among UNICEF volunteers throughout Germany demonstrates that they have an impact, not only to others, but also to themselves. And the leadership qualities that you promote as AIESEC are valuable to our active engagement.
That is also very interesting, especially the topic also of developing, engaging, really giving opportunities. So seeing that we are at the Youth Leadership Day here, we put a big emphasis on the topic of leadership. So what I would like to know from you is, how does UNICEF shape young leaders, and how can young leaders be shaped in UNICEF?
Well, how you can shape UNICEF is that, first of all, we embrace young leaders and volunteers with new ideas, and by creating awareness for children's rights in public and schools, and by fundraising, you can contribute to UNICEF's efforts. And you have the space and trust to find new ways of promoting our goals and values. And how we shape you is that we promote your potential in learning how to build team spirit, integrate new people, appreciate diversity, and communicate with people in a solution-oriented and respectful way. In our student associations, you can develop your leadership qualities as members or leaders. You work with peers, take responsibility for organizing your team, try out new events and ways to connect with people. And those competences will help you become a world citizen and a professional leader.
That definitely sounds very exciting. And I can be very sure that people are very happy being part of this process. So with this, we are coming to a close. So what I would like to know from you is, what do you want to tell young people here tuning in that are aiming to contribute to a good cause, and volunteers that already do?
I would like you to know that you can have an immediate impact on the future of children worldwide. Each volunteer can change a child's life, and together we can then change the world. And you should always remember that every single contribution counts, and be aware of your own strength.
That sounds very great. Thank you for having you with us here, Michelle. It's a privilege to have this collaboration, to see what we can create together. I encourage all of you to engage yourself to a good cause. UNICEF gave you a good promise what you can do. And we are looking forward to continuously working together for young people across the world to build a better cause. So thank you very much for being here. I wish you a great day, and you can look forward to what comes next.
Thanks, Dennis.
Hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to have you back with us for our next interview, which is for me also very interesting to have, as I got to know Jendrik in 2014. And he was also part of a conference where he was already talking about actually founding the organization you can see on the screen, Kipachi. As I said already before in the last space, Jendrik Peters is an AIESEC alumnus. He's from Hamburg, and together with other AIESECers, he founded Kipachi, which corresponds to his passion of unleashing potential through education. And for him, youth leadership is about overcoming the challenges you set out to do. And with this, I'm very happy to welcome Jendrik to talk with us about the topic of shaping leaders, providing a framework for youth to blossom. Hello, Jendrik.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Very nice to have you here, as I said. And to start with a different kind of introduction, as people already heard about you, what I would like to know from you is, how have you yourself received the opportunities to grow, and what are your personal experiences?
Well, we have a few hours, right? It's a long. You can make it long or short. So I try to keep it short. People who know me know that is quite hard for me. So it all kind of started with, for me to grab experiences in general, because in the beginning it was hard for me to actually trust in myself and recognize that I can go the next step. So in the beginning, I needed a lot of nudges to help me overcome those challenges, and actually to go into opportunities and grab experiences. And from then on, I started just taking one opportunity after another. So within AIESEC, I took new roles, I learned new things, I tried myself out, and then I took my passion into reality and started Kipachi, became a freelancer, and started other companies. Yes.
This is actually, very inspiring to hear also that you actually also, maybe for the audience to know, you combined other companies you created, like for example, DevJets, where you offer actually trainer equipment for all the aspiring trainers to actually also be equipped properly to support also their passion of education. So as a nice extra to know for everyone listening, what I would like to know from you is, you mentioned a lot about the opportunities that you took and how important it is to take opportunities. But how do you get the opportunities as a young leader to be shaped at all, or shape yourself?
it's hard, but you'll find opportunities everywhere. So either for me, it started with sports, trying new sports, going into new sports, meeting new people. But also you can join organizations like AIESEC or other student organizations, or especially small NGOs or NPOs who are always looking for people to support them, where you can get room to experience things. So in order to grow, in order to learn something new, you also have to get out of your comfort zone and go into this learning zone, and you have to get into new situations. Else, if you're always confronted with the same situations, you cannot grow, you cannot learn. So what you need to do is to get into new situations, and that's there it is. It doesn't really matter if it's in private, in your private life, or by trying new jobs, finding new jobs, building your own project, or joining any organization to try yourself out.
That's actually a very good point. And building up on this is, how do I develop myself? Like, what do I actually need to do to not only take these opportunities you mentioned, but making sure I can become a young leader? Where does the process start? How does it build up? So basically, what is the path I can take or should take or need to do to become that leader?
The problem is that there's not that one path. Whenever you ask any leader, you'll hear different stories. You always have to find your own path. So for me, the essentials are trusting yourself, building up competencies, following your passion and finding your passion, and then having this room to experience. And as I mentioned before, for me, for example, this trusting in myself was a big challenge. And so I needed a nudge. So that's also something that, like, whenever you go into new situations, that is one pillar, and you can try that and go that way. And then sometimes just things get together, and then you have maybe someone at your side who's giving you the nudge to take it a step further. And so every part is going to develop further. So you build up more competencies, you build up more trust in yourself. You'll have your passion and your interest will get clearer. And maybe even change. I can see it in my way of life that interest changed a lot, and my passion stayed the same, but the aspects of my passion changed as well, and the ways to achieve it. And of course, the rooms to experience or make new experiences changed as well. And one thing that was really important to me, or helped me a lot, was to realize that also every challenge and every error I make is one step further. So with every failure, I was able to learn again and to stand up and take the right turn the next time. And so trying myself out, learning on the way, also failing on the way, and as long as you always stand up again and realize where you failed, failing is not a big problem. So in my experience.
Actually, this is a very interesting part, which I would like to dive deeper in. One thing you mentioned is the point of trusting yourself. And really finding the path to believe in yourself in order to express yourself to your environment. At the same time, you also said you need to try it and you need to be open to failure. So basically embracing this culture of learning from mistakes. And in this case, maybe also we have a lot of young people who are trying themselves out in leadership positions where they are still in the process of finding themselves. So if you take both of these into consideration, this way of trusting yourself, but at the same time allowing yourself to fail in order to learn to trust yourself, how would you address this topic, taking both of these elements into consideration?
For me, one of the most important parts of getting there was to reflect, and to always reflect on what you do, and taking the time to do that, to do so. So, for example, whenever I took a role, for example, with an AIESEC, after every term, after every role I took, or when it came to an end or halfway, I always took time to reflect and think about, what am I doing? What do I like about that? What don't I like about me doing that? What do I want to change? And I talked to other people, so I got feedback from everywhere, from people who know me well, from people who don't know me well, or didn't know me well, so that I can actually get the full picture somehow. And just by getting the feedback from all those people, I already got more trust in myself, because they told me aspects of my personality that I didn't know, or that I didn't realize until that point. So that helped me to trust more in myself, and also ask for more room to experience. So whenever I realized, okay, I'm growing in my position, and whenever I started a position, I was not fully capable of doing that. So I just stepped in there. I grew on myself in this role. I learned a lot, and then by the end of the role, or by the end of the year, I realized, okay, now I can take it to the next step. And always having in mind that you need to change again and again, and to realize and reflect on that, helped me a lot.
This is also a very, very interesting point, especially the point of feedback and reflection. So taking in and then letting it go through your head and really find the way for it. In your case, it led you to your expression of passion for education. So this is where you want to gain your confidence, trust yourself in this mission. And this led to founding Kipachi. So one thing I would like to know, also taking into consideration the topic of building a framework for youth to blossom and shaping leaders, how do you see the consistency in Kipachi with this approach, and in general with your passion of education?
That's a hard question, and I have to admit that sometimes it's hard to build this frame up. So what we do is, one thing, what we started with is, we have our scholars in Tanzania, which we support by now only financially. So we give them the opportunity to go further to school and to get a degree in their school. And that is already one possibility to give them the room to learn. Financial wise, what we now try to do, for example, is to build up mentorships and mentoring programs to go into the next step. But it took us almost almost 10 years to get to this point. What we do in Germany is we do workshops to help people learn new things and to network especially as well. And there are quite a lot of people and NGOs who met during our workshops and created new projects, which is quite inspiring to see that happening from those projects. And what we do working within Kipachi is we have no fixed working packages or things someone needs to do. So what we do is normally we sit down once a year or twice a year, and we put on the board whatever we have to do, whatever we want to do, and what's our next goal that we want to achieve within the year. And we ask ourselves, okay, what would I like to take over? And of course, there are a few things on the board in the end that need to be done, and no one maybe wants it badly, but we've always found a way that maybe someone says, okay, I'll do it and we'll grow on it and grow with it if someone joins me. And so whenever we have a topic that's maybe harder or not well liked, we still find a solution, and everyone is eager to learn on it and go the next step.
This is still very interesting to hear. Also for me personally, seeing the development when it started in 2014, you were just sharing with some people that were in the audience back then at a national AIESEC conference that, you were proud of founding this project and this organization. And just personally, it's very interesting and very inspiring to see that, you're building up on this passion still and evolving and contributing to a good cause. So with this, we will conclude our interview for today. So thank you very much for the great space. And I would like to offer you the space to address with last words, what advice or wisdom you would like to part with for the audience.
Thank you. No wisdom. If you know that you need someone to nudge you, get someone to nudge you. And you know more and can do more than you think. And whenever you find a space to experience that, try it and go out there and learn.
With this, thank you very much for being here. It has been a pleasure talking to you. It has been a pleasure hearing your story and hearing what shaped you and what you want to part with. And with this, I wish you an amazing day. And thank you for having you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And with this, we are now proceeding to the next space, which will be a panel discussion. For this, actually, there will be a separate introduction that will be done by our amazing chair for today, Katharina. And for this, you can look forward to get to know the amazing panel guests we have there. We will talk about the qualities that make a leader. So the LDM qualities, as we call them in AIESEC. And you can look forward to learning more, getting interesting insights from these amazing panel guests and hearing from people outside of AIESEC, but also inside of AIESEC with, an elected president in Germany and a former president of AIESEC International. And of course, our amazing guests that will be Samir Kek, Michael Illert, and our CEO from Studo, where I would also love to introduce him to you, as it's also one of our guests that have a very interesting story to tell you. With this, I will give it to the break, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next space.
It's an easy question, right? Well, maybe not for everyone. There are some people who can no longer say that they belong to one place. Okay, we know. We know that in the end there is a specific place written in their passport. But maybe their best friend belongs somewhere else, and their biggest learnings happen in some other. The place where they were born, their heritage, their families, their happiest summer may all be in completely different places. Now this might sound bittersweet, but if you ask any of them, probably they will all answer the same. I feel grateful about it, because they know that this has made them who they are. A more aware, understanding, and complete human being.
A global citizen is someone who self-identifies first and foremost not as a member of a state, a tribe, or a nation, but as a member of the human race, and someone who's prepared to act on that belief to tackle our world's greatest challenges.
If you want to get where they are, you will need to destroy all your prejudices. You need to be curious, friendly, open-minded, tolerant, humble, respectful. You will be amazed, delighted, disgusted, mind blown.
You don't have to be brave to travel. You just have to have a little bit of courage to start, to leave.
At times, you will feel nostalgic, homesick, tired, overwhelmed. After all of this, you will never be the same. This will completely change the way you see things, the way you walk the earth, the way you think, the way you speak, the way you treat others, and the way you live.
We have so much more in common with people around the world than you may think. We are all looking for fulfillment.
You will understand we are all the same, all human. And how amazing that is, because we can connect and learn from each other. It's about becoming a person aware of what happens in our world. It's about enjoying the ride. Okay, I think we have the shot. Okay.
As we say in Kumba, do what we can with what we have to leave a space better than we found it.
But above all, it's about striving to understand everybody, because that's the only way you can contribute to making this a better place for everyone. And that's what it means to be a world citizen.
I'm a world citizen.
I am a world citizen.
I am a world citizen.
Είμαι πολίτης του κόσμου.
我是一位世界公民.
أنا مواطنة العالم.
Soy un ciudadano global.
Je suis une citoyenne du monde.
Ich bin ein Weltbürger.
Я съм светски становник.
Ben dünya vatandaşıyım.
Я гражданин мира.
I know you're tough, but always remember to be kind. Always. Don't ever forget that. Never embarrass mama. Yeah.
Listen! Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to our panel about youth leadership and the qualities of a good leader. And this is the last big session of this day. So we really want to round up the day with taking a look at our 4 leadership qualities, and have for this invited a bunch of very different people because we want to give you a lot of different perspectives. And with this, I would like to ask our panelists to give a short introduction of who you are and why you are joining us today in this panel.
Who to go first? Me?
Yes, you can go first,
right.
Of course.
All right. Hi, I'm Philip. I am the CEO of Studio Germany. I'm an entrepreneur. The last 5 years, I've been self-employed, and now I'm in an in-between position. I'm leading teams since, let's say, 7 or 8 years. And I'm very happy to join you in this international talk, especially AIESEC. Also make good experiences and happy to participate. Yeah.
Great to have you here. So maybe we go next with Alex.
Yes, okay. Hello, everyone. So my name is Alex. I was the president of AIESEC International from 2019 to 2020, which was the end of about an 8-year journey in AIESEC for me. And so I'm really excited to be here to kind of talk more about all the things I learned about youth leadership in AIESEC. And now I'm working to start to apply all those learnings to my own future career, trying to move back into the sector that I studied in my education background, which is public policy. So excited to be here. Thank you.
Great to have you here, Alex. Next, maybe Micha, can you introduce yourself a bit to the audience? I think some of you have seen him before in the other keynote, but just again.
Yes, hi everyone. Nice to be back. Yes, Micha, my name. I'm here. Obviously, my leadership career started with AIESEC, which I'm entirely grateful for and learned a lot from, and also here to represent the SR Group, who is obviously one of AIESEC Germany's national sponsors.
Great, thank you. Inza, what about you?
Yeah, hello, I'm Inza. I joined AIESEC around 3.5 years ago. And after working on the local level for some time, I decided to join the national board last year. I'm currently in charge of organizational development, which is of course very exciting, especially in the current times. And I'm also the president of AIESEC in Germany elect for the next year. So in July, I will take over leading this organization in Germany. I'm very excited for this. And I'm of course also very excited to be here today to be talking about leadership, because I think, for me, I connected the most with AIESEC. I first got in touch with the topic of leadership in AIESEC. So being able to talk with a lot of different people, with also some people with AIESEC background about this today is very exciting for me. And I'm, just looking forward to have some nice discussions with you.
Perfect. Thank you, Inza. And last but not least, we have Samir here.
Yes, and I would say my leadership journey also started some time ago at AIESEC, and currently I'm running my own company about leadership development. We do this since 11 years, and also some AIESEC alumni are involved there. And at the same time, I'm leading the software development part of Flixbus when it comes to operations, which is about 50 software developers in different roles in 3 different locations. So the topic is very close to my heart.
Perfect. That's why you're here. Amazing. So let's get right into it with our first questions. If we look at the current world, we see there are a lot of issues, and leadership is more and more present, but also partially less trusted. And in this context, I'm wondering what you think, what leadership means to you, and which qualities do you perceive as important? Who wants to give it a go? Otherwise, I will ask someone specifically.
Yeah, I can go. I put leadership into 3 different boxes. And the first I would say I call self-leadership. So how am I able to lead myself towards my purpose in life, towards interactions I'm having? So self-leadership as one part of it. And the second, leadership in interactions whenever it comes to team dynamics, to a group, or to other human beings. And the third one is connecting leadership to, I would say, like a bigger scale. Could be a corporation which is so huge that you feel like, okay, this is anonymous, or this is like very difficult to touch, or even if you want to put it bigger, the whole world. And therefore, I would say leadership is action and not position. So it's not connected to a role, but it's something which is whenever human beings are interacting or whenever you're leading yourself, it's always present.
Yeah, I would agree, right? As I tried to say this morning, leadership is obviously not an adjective, right? So I find the word quality difficult. But for me, the first thing which came to my mind, which I wrote down, is leadership is standing up and taking over responsibility, and that can be in any situation. And if we have to, talk about qualities, I wrote down to be authentic, right? To not just try to be like some other leader, right? Just to actually be yourself, because that is the only way to truly inspire people, is to be true to yourself. But I think what you asked, trust, right? And trust in leadership. And for me, that comes to maybe a boring quality, which is predictability, right? I think people want to, when they look at the leader, they want to know action A causes reaction B, and that needs to be a reliable correlation, right? I think people want especially in the current time, people are longing for stability. And that's the kind of the three points which came to my mind: standing up, being authentic, and being predictable.
Yeah, if I can add something to this, because Michael, I feel like it's not that easy anymore to feel the interactions, how the people really feel. Like when you're leading a team, and for me, it's also important to see how do they really kind of feel. How, if you give them a task, how do you feel about them giving it to them? Do they feel good about the assignment they just got? And this is getting harder with Zoom and all the other video conference tools we have. And so I try to see my team at least once a month in really in phase, and during the COVID pandemic. And then I also find it now harder to really measure how good or how bad they perform. So don't get me wrong, it's because I know leadership is not only about measuring performance of people, it's much, much more, as you already said. But I think this is one of the challenges I really see, because we do a lot of marketing things, and there you always you need the numbers in the end, but it's not only the numbers that, of course the numbers count, but the way how you get to your results is also a very important part of leadership, in my opinion. And I struggle if I'm not knowing if they're doing the small steps right, and if I appreciate the small steps, which I just don't see if people not in the office. If you understand what I mean, I think I talk
completely. I think I struggle with the same, right? Because our businesses, I'm sure it's yours, but also AIESEC, right, is all built fundamentally of face-to-face contact, bringing people together, doing these conferences in person, right? This morning, to deliver a keynote to a completely quiet screen is the most awkward thing you could do, right? And I think the employee relationship, and that's most probably a big challenge, and I'm obviously hugely simplifying now, has reduced itself to a hang-up button, right, at the end of a call. And also conflicts, which would be not a conflict if you were in an office where you can't run away from each other, right? And where there's so many situations where things can be, put out of the way, are much more bubbling up now because of these conversations, right? And it's another video call. And I think I've read recently significantly more about servant leadership styles, right? Because I actually think this health crisis has not only created a physical health crisis, but more predominantly a mental health crisis, which you can see absolutely everywhere. And I'm sure everybody has somebody in their team where they can relate to this, right, caused by COVID. And what I find, and then I stop talking, what I find really interesting after a year in this crisis, that nobody has come up with some technical innovation which would make this more like the real world. You know what I mean? I think Zoom can still pretty much do the same thing it could do a year ago, and Microsoft Teams and whatnot, right? But the coffee machine talk, the looking over your screen to your desk neighbor, all these sorts of elements, there is still no solution how to deal with this in this completely remote setup.
Funny enough, I don't want to make advertisements for the solutions we use because they don't pay me for this, but we actually saw this problem in our management team, and we're using Slack, which is a nice chat tool, maybe not, and we use a bot which is called the coffee break, and this forces every member of the team to have once in a week a coffee with somebody else, randomly chosen out of the company. And we are also international, like we have an office in Graz and one in Germany, and it actually helps to interact with the international people. Like, I think World Citizen is one of your things you also see very high, and this helped a lot. And from time to time, we do actually a digital pub quiz. I can send you the link later because I don't know the tool anymore. And also for me, I'm the CEO in Germany. It helped me to find people in Austria I didn't really know too well, and having a beer with them online. And usually they would even maybe be too shy, don't get it wrong, to talk to me or to the German team like this. And that was actually a good thing. It's still not the same as you would be in the same room and sharing a drink, but this is something I could recommend every team or every leader if you want to have the personal connection to your team. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks a lot for your answers on this question. It's really interesting to see how you describe that. On the one hand, the expectations from the people being led and the situation that we're in are changing, but also for the people leading, it's getting more difficult. You need to come up with new solutions. And thanks a lot for that concrete, practical tip of something that you can implement as well. And with that, I want to bridge over to the first leadership quality, self-awareness. So as you said, you actually need to notice the changing environment, and you need to, for that, also be aware of how you yourself are acting in this. So I'm curious to hear a bit more from you about what for you self-awareness means in the leadership context, and if you maybe have some concrete examples from yourself of how you apply self-awareness, and some tips and tricks for young people, how they can develop this better. And maybe we can start with Alex or Insa on this topic.
Yeah, I'd love to. Whenever anyone ever asked me what was the most valuable thing you gained from being in AIESEC for so many years, I would say self-awareness. It's my favorite leadership quality. And it's really this thing that I don't know how else I would have had an opportunity to so quickly know myself so well. I really feel that I know as a leader what I'm really good at and what I'm really not good at. And I think that's one of the most valuable things a leader can know. For me, it's about vulnerability, really. And I think that's the word I would have used to describe the conversation we were just having about really admitting, maybe I don't know how to connect to my team the way I used to before the pandemic, or maybe I'm worried about my team, or maybe I'm not sure what I should do next as a leader. I think that's a part of self-awareness that I really took away as a leader, especially from the past year of this pandemic context, is so much of leadership is saying, I know how to do this, but I don't know how to do that. And being willing to say that and open up space for someone else to step in and really help you and be part of creating solutions with you. I think that's the most valuable thing I've learned lately as a leader. So that's really self-awareness to me. It's knowing what you're good at, what you're not good at, and being willing to communicate it, setting those kind of expectations as a leader.
Yeah, for me, I would completely agree to what Alex just said, because also for me, understanding myself and learning more about my values and my strengths and weaknesses was something that AIESEC really helped me and really showed me how I can work with this, and also especially made me more aware of like focusing on my strengths and not just always thinking about how can I even out my weaknesses myself, but actually looking for people on the team that are better in the things that I can't do, and then working with them together, collaborating and trying to create something better together, because we have different strengths and we just need to be aware of this to actually improve the things together. So yes, for me, it also, I have to agree, being self-aware is for sure one of the most important qualities you can have as a leader. So you can also show this, what Alex just said, vulnerability to the team, to the people around you, so that they also open up and that you can have this very honest discussion about how you can make the topics, the projects happen, and how you can overcome these things, but also for yourself to be more aware in certain situations. How do you want to behave based on your values? For example, for me, choosing my future company where I want to work, if I know the company is also basing their work ethics on my personal values, if there is a connection, I will for sure be able to connect much stronger to the job that I want to choose or that I will be in, because I feel more comfortable in this environment. And I think this is something that helped me a lot in AIESEC also to understand this. What am I looking for in my future surroundings and what I'm looking for in people that I connect with? So having this awareness is super, super important for me also now.
I think for me, it's obviously I can't just agree to what you just said, right? Maybe on a very practical side, the first thing which came to my mind when I was in the MC, we did what we called a hot chair, right? Which on every team days, and obviously we did religiously team days every 2 months. One would sit in the middle, and then the rest of the team would give feedback, right? And whilst that the first time felt really harsh, but that obviously became a very, very effective way of learning about yourself, right? In maybe in a quite challenging way. And then a mistake I did in my corporate career is very often, obviously in corporate life, you don't have the luxury of going on team days every 2 months, right? That's just not what's happening. And then you just get carried away with whatever you work on, right? And life get very busy. And I didn't really ask for that feedback for a long, long time until I asked my team and peers to do a 360-degree feedback with me. And that actually was really not a great moment for me, right? Because I suddenly realized that some of my strengths, which I believed are my strengths, actually had turned into weaknesses, right? So, some of you might have read about derailment because there was not enough time for my strengths actually to play out in the way of how my job was structured, right? And I think the self-awareness piece, but also then using tools to actually put the mirror up, right, and get that feedback from people around you. I think that is super important to constantly develop as a leader, right? And being a leader is a journey. That is not a goal where you ever get to, right? That is a journey which you continuously will be on.
Yeah. Interesting story, Michael. I think everybody who really want to lead need to understand that he's never allowed to be the smartest guy in the room or the expert. Like everybody who really wants to see the bigger picture and want to really have an impact with the team needs to stay very humble. Like let the others drive into the decisions. Don't decide just because you're in the position in the chair. And I think this already starts if you can choose with the recruitment, that you look for people who really are better than you in their areas, or that you see the potential in them. And this is what I see about self-awareness, that I always need to find or want to have people who are better than me. And this is already a big secret, or the big thing about self-awareness. Well, I don't want to be the smartest guy. I don't want to be the best. I want my team to be better, and every one of them in their specific field. And this is my opinion about self-awareness. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for these different insights. Very interesting to see how you put up the fact of vulnerability in this as well, really the part of engaging with other people to get more self-aware and get this input. And with that, let's look at another angle of leadership. Let's look a bit about how to be a more solution-oriented person. So how do you see solution orientation play a role in leadership? And in that context, how important do you think it is to show resilience and stay positive in especially uncertain and insecure times like right now? And what are your tips and tricks to be a solution-oriented person and leader?
Okay, maybe I can start here. I think especially being resilient and solution-oriented is super important right now. If you look at the current state of our society and what we're dealing with right now, if we would all just give up, where would we be? So if we do not just always believe in we can make some progress, we can continue on, also believe in this, and also, kind of work with people around us, then I think it would be very hard, especially in these times, to deal with this. If you are not able to transmit this to the team around you, and that you are able to find solutions together, and that you're not resilient, I think it's very hard to be a leader in these times, because you're facing this problem. And I think every company, every organization is at this point right now, like really thinking, okay, what else can we do? How can we interact better with our customers? How can we make this experience better for the people that we're working with? So if you're not solution oriented right now, and I think right now we're actually also being forced to do this, I think we can also just directly give up, because otherwise we cannot evolve, we cannot improve. Yes, I think especially in these current times, it's super important to be more solution oriented, and to work with people around you, to have regular sessions on like looking at what is going wrong right now, how can we improve this, and maybe also trying out new things once in a while that we didn't do before. Yes, maybe implementing these virtual team spaces that we never thought of, because we just see, okay, this can really help us in these virtual environments much more.
This is a test for agility, right? That situation, right? Because when I look at the situation, yes, if you read the press, it's all doom and gloom, right? But if you look into it in detail, whilst COVID obviously has had some horrific impact on many people's lives, it has also been an incredible catalyst for change, right? And some businesses and some organizations, as a result of COVID, have done incredibly well, right, over the last year or so. I think if I look at myself in a situation like this as a leader, typically I would say as a leader, you always need to have your antennas up and get as much information in as you potentially can. In a situation of crisis, you need to do the exact opposite. Sometimes you just need to switch your antennas off and just do a really good job. And what I mean, at the moment, if you would read the news every single day across every single news channel, you most probably never would do anything, because everything is just, this is not working, that's not working, vaccinations are not working, the German government doesn't know what to do. And, you can obviously drown yourself in this, or you can just ignore this, put your agility hat on and think, okay, where is the opportunity in this challenge, right? And then just run with this and ignore what's happening around it. And I think a good leader needs to be able to switch between the two, between being very aware of its surroundings, but also being able to ignore them and just believe and run in a different direction than everybody else is running.
I would connect the solution, sorry, Philip.
No, go ahead, Samir.
I want to connect the solution orientation to the self-awareness we had before. So it's not about faking, there is no problem, and not acknowledging the problems. Mm-hmm. But the question is, if you receive an information, how does it work inside of you? Are you feeling filled up with anger or fear or something? So you're using somehow your mature state of mind. Or are you seeing like, okay, there's a challenge, but I'm staying in a mature state of mind as human beings, so I can act. And the more self-awareness, the more capabilities I have inside myself, through the more situations I'm able to stay into a solution-oriented mindset. And then it comes to what exactly you described before.
Okay, well, if I can give my opinion on this, where I think everybody knows what or thinks, has an idea about what it means to focus on solutions. And I can only tell you how we do it in our company. Like we try to determine KPIs on pretty much a lot of things. Like everybody of my team has a certain KPI he should reach in a certain time frame. This is the way we grow. And this is very open and everybody knows about it. Also with me, like the communication is very clear. And this is something also young people have to learn. I think when they come to us, well, there's nothing to hide. Also, transparency is really, really, really important in our company. But this also can help you. Like for instance, we had a case where a number didn't didn't improve as we wanted it to improve. But instead of not talking about it, we got all together. Like we even took our colleagues from Austria together, and we had a big workshop and talked about what could we do to help this number. So indirectly to help this one person who's responsible for it. And this, I think, showed a lot of support for everybody in the team that, okay, we need to do better. We will get there. We will do this together. And I think because we have this, well, story, but it is like this number-driven mindset that we want to reach certain targets, it helps a lot. It really helps a lot. It sounds a little bit stressful maybe, but I wouldn't say that it actually is, because people really know and what there is. And that's a good thing. Like we're a software company with digital apps, so you can really measure a lot. And I think this is the answer for solution orientation. Look for the numbers, define the KPIs, run for them, and find everything you can do to reach them. Maybe it's not the right philosophical answer you want to hear, but I think it's a very, especially in crisis, it's a very good attitude to tackle this topic. Yeah.
But I think you need to prepare to decide against the figures as well, right? I met one of the board members of Spotify once, and it was really interesting because their take on numbers is that they also measure everything, but they take the absolute liberty whether they run with the figures or not after they looked at the figures. And their take on this is saying that when they founded Spotify, all the figures were saying that this is the market which Apple will own, and there's no point of even setting up, right? And so I think, well, I 100% agree with you, Philip. You need to have a good set of measurements which you run your business with. You also need to be prepared to sometimes just believe your gut and ignore the figures and run in a different direction. Right? I think the two go hand in hand.
Absolutely. It's not that you lose your head if the numbers are not reached, and especially when it comes to user growth, you need to have a feeling how our users tick. And this cannot be measured in numbers always. You can see it later maybe, but yeah, but that's it. Like, I think Spotify is a good example that they also entered a market which wasn't really existing, but everybody thought it's already taken. And this is a lot of case in a lot of startup nowadays, that they enter a market nobody sees before. And yeah, if they focus on the one thing, especially then there's one company in my mind right now, and I know how much he also concentrates on the numbers. And well, it's a startup world. Maybe it's a little bit different than others, but yeah, sorry.
I think these are really great insights and a mix of practical and also like leadership philosophy. And I know for me, getting comfortable with being solution oriented, it had a really important lesson of, there's this phrase we use in AIESEC about being solution oriented, which is that you transmit positivity to move forward throughout uncertainty. And I have never been someone that would describe myself as positive. I think I'm not. I always perceived positive people as, it's all going to work out, we're going to achieve it, it's great, it's wonderful, this challenge is so much fun. And I never really described myself that way. I think I'm a much quieter person, an introvert, someone that likes to look at the problems actually, and work through those. And so I always thought maybe then that meant I wasn't a solution oriented leader if I wasn't positive. And I had a really good learning, and I had a chance to put it into practice over the last year with this pandemic, that that blind positivity is not necessary. It's wonderful, and those people bring energy to teams, but it doesn't mean that I'm failing as a leader to not be that type of person. You know, I think I am someone that's good at looking at the problems, analyzing them, predicting what might not work, you know, catching those little things that someone else might have overlooked. And so I learned to lean into that. And I also learned to get comfortable with failure. I think part of being solution oriented is being willing to fail. It doesn't mean that you're going to find the solution every single time. You're just not. You know, sometimes failure happens. And I think one of the best things you can do as a young leader is fail as many times as you can. Really just go mess it up, get it wrong, and then learn that it goes on, and it's okay. And your team doesn't always abandon you and leave you alone. You know, you don't get kicked out of the leadership club just because you mess something up. I think that's really valuable. And then I learned I can be comfortable with uncertainty because I know that if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. And so that was a different take on being positive in the face of uncertainty that really helped me. Is I'm confident in the face of uncertainty. I'm calm, I'm collected, I'm able to move forward. That helped me a lot. And I think in the last year that was really necessary for leaders.
Thanks a lot for that. Very interesting to hear the different takes that you're taking on this topic. But I think really what was common among this is, you look at the problem, you acknowledge it, but you don't freak out, you stay calm, and you have the right mindset and attitude to move forward. And that's really what is important. So let's move to another question, which is about world citizenship. So if we look at the world today, we're becoming more and more globalized and we're becoming more used to it. So how do you see, how can leaders and especially young people take responsibility for the issues that we see in the world? And how do you see young people, how can they make a difference in these world issues?
My first question would be, Kati, are we actually, right? If I look at least what's happening in some of the global political stage, right? Just look at the last 4 years in America, right? Look at Brexit, look at some of the parties elected across Europe. I'm not so sure, right? Obviously, there's one reality where we're obviously growing in the globalization, but there's also a very strong counter trend, right? To this. So I think that's maybe up for debate, right? But I think what's not up for debate is that we need significantly more people who stand up, right? There are so many issues left, right, and center. And again, just looking at the last 4 years in America, how can it be that something such unethical is allowed for 4 years and nothing really happens, right? And that's a very clear example, right? And it's great to see that so many movements are popping up, right? Whether that's Black Lives Matters or so many other things which have happened over the last number of years. But I don't think there are enough people standing up. And coming back to my point, if you just look at politics, right? Where are the young people in politics who stand up and say, we want to change here, we will take this over, right? We will reform this party, we will push in a different direction. World leaders seem to become older by the day instead of younger, right? I think there is a huge gap of people taking over responsibility.
Connecting to this, maybe I would completely agree, because also for me, it's sometimes very frustrating that the people that are in charge of what is happening in our country are like the people that cannot really connect to, for example, my generation anymore. And they don't understand the problems that we're facing and how hard it maybe is also to, visit university online. You cannot really connect with the people. You do not get to know the people. That everything that you are doing as a student is basically, living with university friends and, studying with them together. And right now it's very difficult, but apparently this doesn't seem to be a very big problem right now. So young people not having the interest in taking over responsibility and really wanting to change something is also for me one of the major issues that I see. And I would really wish for more young people to step up and really try to make a difference and really, first of all, of course, gather information about what's going on and then connecting to like-minded people. We can, especially in this current state of our world, connect with people from all over the globe. I can join a movement at the other side of the world from my bed because I'm just engaging with other people there. And I think this is something that we as young people, but also actually everybody needs to do, really connecting with everybody in who is in the same opinion as I have, and then just connecting with them and really trying to make usage of this whole social media that we can connect through, or that everything that we have right now in order to change things, in order to take over responsibility. And really try to impact the things that we don't like right now. So I think for the young people, but actually for everybody, to use this as an advantage compared to what was going on 20, 30 years ago. This is what it means to be a world citizen, to really try to change things, even though it's not next door, but actually also somewhere else that you can't directly reach.
Thanks for that, Inza. And maybe following up with a question on these 2 points by both of you. You both said young people are maybe still not getting engaged enough. So what do you think is holding young people back, for example, to get engaged in politics or also do other things? And what do you think they should do, or what could help them to overcome this in order to make a bigger change in the world?
You go first.
Okay. I think for me, actually, especially looking at politics, from my perspective, I think young people still perceive this as something boring and something they think won't change anything. Also, for me, I never connected a lot to the topics of politics. I was always like, okay, it's these other people deciding what's going on, and I can't really have a say in this. And actually, also by joining AIESEC and being able to, take decisions, take over responsibility, and also seeing the impact that I can create with people around me made me consider to possibly join politics later on, because I have the feeling that I can actually make a difference and that I want to have a say in what's happening. So making this more present for young people somehow needs to happen, but also young people showing more interest in this and also caring more about this. It's so easy now with this flood of information that we have to ignore either everything or just consume everything, and then trying to filter out the most important parts is very, very difficult. So maybe connecting to one certain group of people to understand what is it that I care about and how can I actually make this happen? How can I change this is something that the young people really need to do and understand and get active about. And I think we also have some very great examples in our society right now. I mean, we're looking at Greta Thunberg, like she started this movement because she really cared, and everybody possibly believed she would fail with this. How should a 13-year-old girl not going to school make a difference? But then people started to listen to her, and now she started this whole movement. And I think if we have more examples of young people actually being this person, taking over responsibility, we can also engage with others, more young people, to take over this responsibility and trying to make a difference in this world.
I think it's the institution is the biggest problem, right? I remember when I was a student, don't judge me on it, I joined the German Labour Party. And I was very, very excited about, that was before AIESEC, to get involved in local politics. And that was the most eye-opening, shocking experience ever, because you're just not allowed to do absolutely anything, because you have to virtually know everybody for 25 years to be given any sort of responsibility, which is above calling people and asking them whether they want to vote Labour Party, right? And so it's partially the institution. But I think the more interesting part, and I really, really like what you're saying, Insa, is obviously you actually don't even need the institution anymore, right? You can just create your own if you wanted to. And Greta is a really, really good example. And there's so many of other examples how you can just actually, you don't need, the platform, right? Parties used to offer a platform, but you don't need a platform anymore. You can build your own platform of being heard. But I think just more needs to happen. And I fear maybe a connection is that, at least in the Western world, a lot of young people, and it's not just the generation on this call, but also the previous generation already, have lived fairly comfortable lives, right? In terms of their upbringing, their schooling, their university, right? Their parents had relatively comfortable lives. And maybe there's not enough pressure anymore, right? Direct pressure on people having to change something. But I think the world is full of so many things, and I think it's just grab something you are passionate about, right, and then just run with it and make a difference. And if all of us make a little bit of difference everywhere, then that obviously will have an accumulating effect, right? But to answer your question, Kati, I think the biggest problems are the institutions. They are just not welcoming people coming in and wanting to take over responsibility.
Yeah, I think I would agree with a lot of what's been said already. And I'd add one more thing, which is an advice for young people that want to try to figure out how they can be world citizens, which is to start asking questions, being really curious about where power lies and what the power structures look like around you. My bachelor's degree, it's in public policy, which is something I didn't even know existed until I was already in university. I wouldn't have been able to tell you that was a field, an industry that makes a difference, that policymakers can decide vaccine distribution structures and things like that I had no idea. And so when you see something around you that either frustrates you or makes you curious or makes you excited, ask who did that. Was it the innovation in the private sector? Was it local government? Was it a policymaker? Who did that? Who had the power to either really mess that up or really get it right? And maybe that's how you'll find the passion, the thing that you're meant to do with your life to make a difference, because you should be doing something that fulfills you. Maybe being a politician is not the thing for you, maybe it is, but there's something that will make it worth working against an institution, because it's going to be hard for decades to change these really entrenched structures in our society. So it has to be something you're willing to work for a long time, and it could be in any industry. And maybe like me, it's in an industry you didn't even know existed. So just you have to ask who did that. Who decided that? Who has the power to make those decisions for my community? And see if you could become one of those people.
Thanks for that. And very, very interesting thoughts on how young people can get more active and do more about the world issues they see in the world. And before we jump into the next block of questions, I just wanted to give everyone in the audience a heads up that we will have some time for questions in the end from your side. So just make sure you type them in the chat, and then the AIESECers here will make sure they get to us, and we will answer them towards the end. And now we will move into the topic of empowering others. So we've seen there are lots of world issues. We see we need to be solution oriented, but very often these problems are so complex. We need to get a lot of people on board. And but at the same time, we also see sometimes it seems like in nowadays world, independence and personal skills are very valued. So in this context, which role do you see empowering others has in leadership? And which role how can young leaders create a meaningful difference by empowering others? And which role does in this context play the development of new leaders as well?
If I can start, I think in general, empowering others is always giving advice, like always have an open door and an open ear for the questions they might raise. And with me, it's not only in the team, but also with friends, family, and other entrepreneurs, and really try to help them. And I think that's one of the good things in life. Like, I'm absolutely sure as long you do good for others without questioning or expecting a lot, it always turns out good. So, and I've seen this a couple of times in my life, and good things come back. That's what I can say about this. Yeah, kind of very concrete is as a team leader, I always try to give not only a KPI, but also an idea where we want to go and what is behind it, and how you fill in this idea is up to you, my teammate. I can show you the tools we know, but if you find better, you're very welcome to use them too. And if you have an idea, well, you're very, very much motivated to do it. And we usually also give budgets, so it's really up to the people how they get to the goals. And I like to see new ideas. It's really like, because I'm one of the older guys in our company, and I like to work with these very young people in there, and it's good. It's because, as I said in the beginning, you shouldn't be the smartest guy in the room, but the most curious, maybe. Yeah. And about external, they're friends of mine who's starting a startup now, and it's so funny to see their questions. Like they raise like so many things I've done 2-3 times now, and it's really good. I can share my experience very concretely on the questions, which are on multiple layers, and I'm very happy to share them for free. And it's really a good feeling to see that there comes something out just from the questions. Yeah, my answer.
Thanks for that.
I'd say as a leader or in a leadership role, there are basically two responsibilities or two key responsibilities. And one is the responsibility towards the organization and the organizational purpose. You could also call it performance or whatever the organization wants to achieve. And the second is about the people inside the organization and their growth. And sometimes there are trade-offs, sometimes they're balanced, but the best if they go in line. And therefore, I would say empowering others is like one of the two core functions why we have leadership roles. And Philip mentioned earlier that it starts already with the hiring process, that you want to hire people where you think there might be even stronger or overachieve something compared to yourself. And I 100% agree that you see people their potential and try to bring this potential for the best of the organization into action. And somehow, therefore, it's connected to the solution orientation, it's connected to the self-awareness and to the world citizenship.
One thing that I would like to add to this, because some of you just said about like helping people to grow, and I think one very big thing about empowering others is also to provide this space for the others to grow, to give them also responsibility, not just always trying to pull them along in the projects that you want to drive, but actually, yeah, make them the project head and make sure that they can actually be creative and that they can, yeah, also maybe fail and that they can learn from this and support them in this whole process so that they can discover themselves. And if we provide this option as leaders for everybody in the team to actually, yeah, take over the responsibility and feeling empowered through this, everybody will just have much more energy to bring the things forward and, yeah, also improve much more, because if everybody has the option to fail, we can all learn from this. So I think really providing the space and, yeah, looking into the others and what they want to take out of this experience is really, really helpful for them to also feel empowered and to feel supported in this whole process of, yeah, working together.
I think something I learned working with diverse people in AIESEC about empowering others is that so much of being able to empower someone is understanding them. And something I learned and really humbled me a lot was that a lot of times my initial reaction to someone that's very different from me is that maybe I don't like this person. We're really different. Maybe it's a cultural difference. Maybe it's a work style difference. But maybe my first reaction was, I don't want to work with this person because we're different and I don't like the way that they're approaching this problem. And I really had some wonderful opportunities to really be humbled and learn that those people were bringing so much value with their diverse ideas, with the way that they challenged me, the way that they were different from me. Every time I spent the time to get to know somebody better that I maybe initially didn't like, I was always regretted it. I always realized I had missed an opportunity to grow and to learn from somebody really different from me. And so I'm glad I had those chances to be humbled, because now I'm more likely to seek out people that are different from me. And I think that's really a key to empowering other people is not just working with the people that are just like you, but working with people that are different than you and being willing to open up and listen to their ideas and give them a platform to engage in the problems you're trying to solve, work on the same projects you're working on. And I think that connection, that bridge you build between different people, that's where a lot of empowerment happens, because it says that, together the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And I really think that's something valuable. So you can't just empower people that are the same as you. It really needs to apply to everyone around you.
I want to shortly react on what you said, Inza, about the failure culture or letting people also fail. And I would say in a leadership role, it's important to support people in order so that they're not failing. So if I just leave them, yeah, let's go do whatever you want, and it's an important issue for the company, I would say I'm not taking my responsibility as a leader. So if there is if they need closer support, I need to stay closer. If they need less support, I need to be more far away. If failure happens, I think, and most probably that's also what you meant, it's not about a blame game and a blaming culture, but then into staying to solution orientation and getting the best out of it. But I would say this failure sometimes is a little bit misunderstood. It's good to make failures, or yeah, it depends. I would say it's my responsibility in a leadership role to make it not happen in a lot of cases. And now I'm curious if somebody sees a difference.
No, I completely see your point. but equally you want to enable, you want to make sure that people do not stop trying for overburden, fear of failure, right? Because obviously business also sometimes is just running with that crazy idea, right? Which could be the next Spotify, right? To, you know, and compete with Apple at a point where everybody's telling you don't compete with Apple. But equally, there are situations, and that are maybe the majority of the situations, which are actually quite blatantly obvious, and where you're just simply not doing your job, right? And where I think there's a difference between building a culture where a calculated risk is something which is really valued, and having a culture of just letting people fail so they learn, right? I think that's two different ends of a spectrum. Yeah.
And I think it's also very important to look at the consequences that would happen, because if we prevent too much failure, then people will get used to the I will be saved anyway somehow, and not care too much. So I think, yeah, if the failure is somehow acceptable to the degree of learning that will happen afterwards, I think sometimes as a leader we should also let this happen sometimes for them to be able to improve in the future again. And of course, if I can see this is going to be the biggest failure that we will face as a team, it's my responsibility to prevent this. But I'm also obviously not able to do this all the time. But on the other hand, I really do believe that we should get comfortable, and we should not get too comfortable with the fact of knowing somebody else will take care of this if I don't manage perfectly. So yes, not having this feeling of I can do whatever I want because it will work out, somebody else will take care. I think it's also very important. So small failures should also be enabled by leaders, I think, for the others to get comfortable and also get used to this, because otherwise we can also not have the chance to actually be okay with failures, because Alex also already earlier said she learned that it's okay to fail at some points. And I think everybody needs to have this learning. And if we prevent this all the time, then we also will have difficulties in the future again to actually deal with this.
Thanks for that, Inza, as well. So we have some time for from questions from the audience. So I encourage you again to drop some in the chat. But in the meantime, I just want to follow up on the topic that we were right now in, because you shared that you need to give the freedom, but as well as sufficient guidance to not have too much failure on that side. And I was wondering if you have any advice and tips for young people that are actually in the position that they're starting their first jobs, and they are the ones being led, and they want to have, just as they learned now, they want to have an empowering leader, they want to be empowered, they want to have this guidance, but also freedom. How can they help shape that environment, and what's important for that?
I think if you really want to be a good leader, people look up to you. You need to have a personal connection to your team. You should celebrate your victories together, hard, drink a lot, have a lot of fun, and also go to the downs together. And that's my approach to my team. Like, just be really open also with your emotions. Don't try to hide them. If there's an up F, then it happens. And as you said before, if something bad happens, you can always, you can always do it better. Shouldn't happen too often, but And I think that's the most important thing. If you really want to be a good leader, be open to your team, clear about your expectations. Don't be too soft, but don't be too hard. Be always straight and honest to them.
I most probably would go a step back, right? If you think about starting out your career, I think be really mindful where you go, right? Stop being carried by big brand names and think that this will make a difference. I think the times where Siemens makes a major difference to your career, they're long, long gone. Right, I think the person, your first manager, they will make a major difference to your career. And I don't know if any of you read Melinda Gates' book, but it's a very good read. And she talks about exactly that, how she got a job offer from IBM, which she turned down to join Microsoft, who were 7 people at that point in time. Right, and IBM was already a major conglomerate, right, and what that made for her career. And I think that is actually the most important one, right? If you really want to take over responsibility, if you really want to achieve something, don't just go somewhere just because a lot of people tell you this is a great brand household name to work for. Go somewhere where your gut is telling you this is the right person to work for, because you work for people, you don't work for a corporate.
Thanks for that input. And with that, I see I have one question coming up here, which is, did you encounter any other leadership development models that you like besides the AIESEC one? Any thoughts on this from your side? Good question, thank you.
I mean,
yeah, they're quite, sorry.
No, please go, Summer.
Okay. I think there are plenty of leadership models, and every company has its own. What stuck out to me in the last things I read was the Netflix leadership model, where they have like a big focus on providing context. So if we want people to take the right decisions and like have them really empowered, they need context. So providing context is one of the key responsibilities. And when I read this, I understood like, yeah, that's actually something I really appreciate. And now going through the crisis with Flixbus, where we went down from 12,000 rides a day to 0, because literally no bus was running, our CEO shared in the senior leadership team the complete financial numbers. And then he said, and I'm going to share it tomorrow in the all hands, by the way. And I was like, oh, that's like the most business critical plannings. And he said like, yeah, but people need to know so that they can take the right decisions wherever they are. And that's something I really appreciate, this transparency and this providing context so that people can act. And that's one thing about one of the leadership models I've seen recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to also add that there's just so many like you could go to a bookstore and find 1,000 different models of leadership. A lot of times they'll boil down to the same, core tenets about being authentic or how you approach problems. But I really think, I know people that love radical candor is one example, or people that love, basing their leadership on maybe Clifton Strengths from Gallup. And I really think all that matters is what feels really authentic to you. And if you're going to practice it regularly. So I've worked with people that say, I read this amazing book, Radical Candor, I'm going to start using it. And then we don't talk about it again for 6 months. Or I know people that it really feels like a part of their personality. They've explained once that it meant a lot to them and they've really practiced it for years. And I think if it just feels natural to you, then that's what you should work with. Maybe it's your own model that you've come up with, but if you find one that feels authentic, that yes, I could show up every day and behave in this way, and I would feel like myself, then I think that's the type of leadership model that you should, be talking about and sharing and trying to build your leadership practice on. Because I think we've said it before, several people here, that authenticity is really a core tenet of leadership. And that looks, a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. So go read all the different books, watch all the different TED Talks, or listen to the podcasts, and just find the leadership model that really resonates with you.
Perfect, thank you. And with that, we're also already running almost out of time. So I would like all of you to maybe leave with some short recommendations for the young people listening, some closing words, but yeah, make it short and make it short and stick. So let's go.
I've got one. I'll just put it out there. Better done than perfect. That was something I started saying to myself a lot during the last year. Just start taking action, do something, put yourself out there, and it's better just to do it than to wait till things are perfect.
I can connect directly to that. Leadership is action and not position. So there are plenty of opportunities to take leadership, or as Michael put it, like to stand up. And it's not about the role when you're at the beginning of your career that you need to be in this position in order to change things. So leadership is action, not position.
Thanks, Samir.
I think something I would say is for everybody to ask questions and trying to get as much information as they can about anything, because then you can decide what you want to do in the future. So yes, just ask as many people about anything that you're interested in, take every option that you can, and connect to the people around you.
I would say make sure you work with the right people with the right attitude. And as I said before, you don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. Yes.
And for me, very simple, never take no as an answer.
Perfect. Thanks so much for these short recommendations for all these young people listening out there. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you and getting all your different views on leadership, on qualities that young people nowadays need. And yeah, thanks a lot to all of you. And with that, we go now into a short break and we will see you back afterwards for the closing.
Every generation gets the chance to shape the world. But the challenges faced today are becoming more complex with the pace of economic, social, and technological change. The world is defined by the people who live in it. So we believe the solution is to develop responsible, entrepreneurial, and skilled young leaders today who will make a positive impact for our future. Since 1948, we've been providing young people with practical leadership experiences across the world, where they have the freedom to fail and the chance to overcome challenges they face. A space where they can discover what really matters to them and realize their potential for the future. We give young people a chance to see the world, because if you can see it, then you can start to understand it. And if you understand it, then you can start to change it. For over 70 years, we've provided more than 1 million young people with life-changing opportunities together with like-minded organizations. But we can't stop now. Because only when we create more of these leadership stories together will we truly see a remarkable impact on the world. History has shown us what just one great leader can do. So imagine what 1 billion great leaders could do. This is why we do what we do for youth.
Has the chance to shape the world, but the challenges faced today are more complex than ever before. And yet everywhere, education systems are leaving young people unprepared to deal with the pace of economic, social, and technological change. The world is defined by the people who live in it, so we believe the solution is to develop responsible and entrepreneurial young leaders today who will choose how the world will be led tomorrow. Unlike anyone else, we do this by providing practical leadership experiences to tens of thousands of young people all over the world. Since 1948, we've created challenging environments where young people can connect to the world, have the confidence to learn, and have the freedom to fail, where they can discover what really matters to them and realize their potential for the future. We give young people a chance to see the world, because if you see it, then you can start to understand it. And if you understand it, then you can start to change it. That's why we've committed to provide life-changing leadership experiences to 1 million young people in the next 3 years. Because when we add all those leadership stories together, we'll see a truly remarkable impact on the world. History has shown us what just one great leader can do. So imagine what 1 million great leaders could do. This is why we do what we do. But it's your world too. So how will you shape it?
When one of my closest friends joined AIESEC, we used to joke that she wanted to become like Prime Minister or something. She took me along to a few information sessions at university, and eventually I became a member. But it wasn't until months later that I learned what AIESEC was really about. Then I was convinced.
Our team in Peru was responsible for finding students for international placements. In our first month, our team leader came to us and told us, "You need to recruit students for an IT internship." We barely had any experience or knowledge, but we just needed to make it happen. It was a challenging experience, but that was the thing that actually kept us going.
In my first job within AIESEC, I was a member and later became a team leader of 7 members. Together we raised money and found new partners for conferences. Although we weren't always successful, we learned and accomplished a lot. The experience really taught me the importance of finding a solution to a challenge and actually making things happen. I've learned so much about fundraising, signing partnerships, and organising events.
I volunteered in Mexico City for 6 weeks with an NGO that provided education programs for a small urban community. It was my first experience of being in such a different reality, where people really had no access to education or basic needs. I was given the task of revising the structure of the NGO, finding bottlenecks and coming up with solutions for them. We came up with 2 new projects for the NGO. One, to solve their financial problems with new fundraising and marketing activities, and one, providing the local women with professional skills training, helping them to be self-sufficient and take care of their families.
I worked for 4 months as a marketing intern in a family-run textiles business in Jaipur, India, where I built and implemented a marketing strategy. The most memorable part, one time I had to do a photo shoot for our portfolio. We didn't have a photo studio or enough money for an agency, but we did have a roof and the sun. So there I was, alone on the roof in 35 degrees heat, taking pictures of about 300 fabric samples. I think I lost a couple of kilos on that roof. The portfolio was a success and the placement was an amazing learning experience. I managed to make a real positive impact in the business during my time there. And in the process also learned a lot about myself. It prepared me for my first job, which I'm looking forward to.
After my time at AIESEC, I see many possibilities. Working for the UN, for a global NGO, being part of a big corporation, or a startup. No matter what comes next, the most important thing for me is to fight for a purpose, like we've been doing in AIESEC. I know that the world still needs many things to be better, and I want to be part of that change.
been a year. Do you remember what you were doing 1 year ago? Where were you at that moment when you realized our lives would never be the same? Maybe it took some time to accept it. Maybe you're still working on that. That's okay. In the last year, we slowed down. We sped up. we found ways to adapt. And complained about all of them. We learned new things. We created. We moved forward. And sometimes stayed still. We raised our voices for what we believe in. We also realized that true leaders emerge in crisis. Who do you want to be emerging out of this experience? What kind of world do you want to create for the years to come? And who do you imagine leading it? Do you want to know a secret? It's us, young people. We don't just have to accept a new normal. We can create it. Every generation has its heroes, and we can be the heroes that lead this generation. Leadership is for everyone, and this is your invitation to activate your leadership with AIESEC.
Welcome back to the closing of this Youth Leadership Day. I really hope you enjoyed the day and had a lot of fun. And especially I hope that you could learn a lot and that you really got inspired from what you've seen today. So throughout the day, we've asked you, what have you learned today? Because this is what this is about in the end. So I just wanted to share some of the input that we got from people and what people said about the event. So I have one person saying here, I really like the keynote from Michael Illert and the whole topic of how personal and company values have to align and that purposeful businesses becomes more and more important. And we have another one saying, I have learned to pay more attention to things I hear and see in the media because people we do not see are affected by it. I also found the keynote from Michael super insightful as it once again showed how vital being solution-oriented is every day. And then I have a last one here where someone says, I set out into this day in wanting to find out how leaders in other organizations set goals with their teams and learned that they give targets to their employees. This is the direction in which they are leading their team. The organization gives the framework, the how. From there, it is empowering if every team member gets to choose on what they actually want to do it in order to reach the goal. So really on empowering others. So you see lots of learnings, and I really hope that each and every one of you thinks about this question and really thinks about what you're taking from this day. And then we asked the second question, and this question is very, very dear to me because all this day was about hearing a lot of things, getting inspired, but in the end, leadership is really about acting and about making a difference. And this is why we wanted to know what will be different from tomorrow onwards, and what can you do to become the leader the world needs. And I have here two answers. One is following that I want to focus more on the purpose of my daily actions and try to behave more consciously in my daily life. And I have another one where someone says, I will definitely be more aware of how crises affect people directly and see more their point of view and what they're actually struggling with. I also realized again how important values are, not just our organizations, but also my own and where they are connected. So I think it's really great to see that you already have some ideas and thoughts of how to put this into action. And on that, I want to share with you something. So like here you can see some of the examples of things that I've done while I was in AIESEC to gain these leadership skills. And I've already talked about some of these things in the opening. So you can really see there are like lots of different opportunities for young people out there in AIESEC, but also in so many other organizations to really get active and to learn something. And when I look at what the common factors in these experiences really were and how to choose them, I think the ones where I learned the most was in the ones where I really believed in what I was doing was making a difference. Because, well, first of all, if you think it makes a difference, the chances are already a bit higher that it actually does. And secondly, if you see that something is making a difference and you can contribute to a better world, better society, you will tackle the problems differently and you will put your full self to it. And the second part was that in all these experiences, I always did a bit more than I think I could do, a bit more than I thought I was capable of. And I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but in the end, this concept about the comfort zone and getting out of it is quite true, that this is where you develop and where you grow as a person. But of course, developing your leadership potential is not just about being in AIESEC or being in a youth organization. It's also relevant, and it's also important to ask how these qualities actually play out in, well, the real world afterwards when you have your first jobs. And because of that, I want to share 2 stories with you of how I use these qualities in my first job after AIESEC. And the first one is about leading without being a manager. I think you've already heard quite a bit about that. Micha talked about it in his first keynote in the morning. And the story is really about what it means to lead without being a formal manager. Because let's face it, your first job out of university is most likely not going to be a formal leadership role. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to show leadership. So my first job after AIESEC was as an innovation consultant working for ING, and I was responsible for leading the operations of our FinTech Accelerator program. And there I was bringing together FinTech startups with ING business units to tackle strategic opportunities and problems together. And even though I was not the manager there, I really had to show some of the qualities that we discussed today. The first big thing was I really had to be good at empowering others, because all the things that we're doing were so intertwined with so many areas of the business that we had so many stakeholders to manage. So one key one were all the senior managers that were of course involved because, well, we worked on strategic topics, so the senior management and their areas were involved and they were acting upon these problems and opportunities. So we had to help them innovate, and that meant also to take them along, to show them how to leverage on our process, how to follow it as well, and really be able to effectively communicate with them, because these people, they don't have a lot of time. They have a lot of different priorities. So if you want to get something done with them, you really need to be really clear and really effective. And the second part was that in this role, there were a lot of different innovation consultants working on different projects as part of this process that I was responsible for. And I mean, I wasn't their leader, but at the same time, I still had to help them to have all the right resources and knowledge that they needed for the process. I needed to find ways of aligning them. And all this was only possible because I had learned before how to empower others. And secondly, after I've had done quite some work on this more overarching program management work, I decided that I wanted to go a bit deeper and work on one of the innovation projects myself. So I had one of these projects. I was working with my startup and with my business unit together. And well, the thing is, it's an innovation project. So per definition, it has never been done before. It's completely new. So I can tell you, every day there was a new challenge coming up, something that we didn't expect to come, and that we had to deal with. So either I had to find a solution myself, but also in a lot of cases, I had to find the right person who could help us with this. So we're again back to empowering others. And what I really want to show you with this is that, well, when I initially got hired, I was mainly supposed to support the process a bit, manage workshops and events, and do some communications. But because I showed leadership and I tackled these tasks differently than maybe someone else would not, I really got a lot of interesting, exciting opportunities very fast, like the ones that I talked about. And I think also for you, this is really something how you can differentiate yourself in your first roles if you apply these learnings that you get from an experience like you're having with AIESEC. The second story that I want to share with you is about about the small actions and decisions that you take every day. Because, well, going from a nonprofit organization to a bank is quite a big change. So even though ING is one, I would say, more of the sustainable banks, they are a very purpose-driven organization, it's still different, because when you work for a nonprofit organization, it's quite easy. Like every day, everything you do, you feel you're contributing to making the world a better place. And even though in the bank and the initiatives that we worked, I always felt we were working towards creating a better customer experience and making something better. Of course, it's still a corporate with a financial bottom line. So that's why for me it was very important to still to try and make a difference in all my small actions that I was taking. So there's one advantage of having very operational tasks sometimes, because you get to decide very practical things. And these practical things often have a very concrete impact on something around you. So while working for a corporate, organizing quite a lot of workshops and events, there's one thing that's for certain: there's always going to be food, and there's always going to be quite a lot of food. So the first thing that I did was when I had to order for these events, I decided that from now on it's always going to be 50% veggie. Before, there wasn't really any, I would say. And well, I swear this is not only out of selfish reasons for myself, because I prefer veggie food, but also because I felt, well, I can make this small difference. And of course, it's not a huge difference, it's not a big deal. But if you consider that I was probably involved in organizing something like 6 events and workshops, some spanning over several days, that's over a year, with like a couple of thousand people involved in total, well, that adds up at some point, right? But the story that I actually want to tell you is what happened after one of these events. Because one of these events, we simply had way too much leftovers. We had simply ordered too much, or the people just didn't eat as much this day. And well, that was something that happened sometimes. And usually we could just like deal with it. People would take a bit home. But that one day it was really way too much. So what did I do in that situation? So this is Gare du Nord in Brussels. It's our train station in the north of the city. So I live in Brussels, and here you can see like lots of refugees, lots of homeless people, and it's actually quite common to well go catch a train and walk past something like that. So after the event, what I did is I just like took all these boxes, and it was like quite a lot of them, and I went on the metro and I just went there. And actually, I felt quite weird first because, well, approaching something like 30 strangers who don't speak your language and then just go there and offer them your leftover food felt kind of weird in the beginning. But then the moment that I saw they were just like grabbing the food, they were happy that someone was giving something to them, I felt really happy for taking this small extra step. And again, this is nothing crazy remarkable. And but what I just want to say is that it's in that moment, I just saw a problem. It was too much food. I had seen another problem throughout the year, almost every day, because homelessness is a big issue in Brussels. And then I decided to take a small step and, well, be solution-oriented and try to be a world citizen and try to do a small good thing. And well, with these 2 stories, I just really want to show you that, first of all, there's always a small opportunity that you can take to take small actions to help someone else. And the second one is that the leadership skills that you gain with AIESEC or with any other youth organization, they are relevant. They will bring you further in your life and in your career, and they will help you to be a better person. And that is why I really want to leave you with this question. I've said it before, leadership is really not just about listening and getting inspired. It is really about getting your hands dirty. It's about trying and failing and getting up again and just trying to create a better world. And this is where I really want to leave you with this. What will you do to become the leader the world needs? And with this, I hand it over to Dennis.
Okay, thank you very much, Katharina, for actually closing up this amazing event and sharing, your story that you wanted to part everyone with. And the question, what will you do to become the leaders the world needs, is actually a very relevant one, as the whole Youth Leadership Day is our way of facilitating a conversation that is based around the topic of leadership and actively taking action to become a leader, shape leaders, and have a positive impact on our society in Germany and the world. And for this,
I want to thank, first of all, you, Kati, for providing an amazing framework here and introducing us to the event and also closing it in a very inspiring and nice way. So before I get to our partners, I want to thank you personally. Thank you for being here.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for asking me to join.
I'm very happy that we did.
And hopefully you ask me again when it's not online so I can see you all guys in real life.
Sounds like a good thing. And with this, I also want to thank our partners that enabled the space and parted their energy, time, and wisdom with us to facilitate this conversation. Because in the end, it's our opportunity to step up and be leaders, but this doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's important that we have conversations, that we learn, that we challenge, that we are curious, and that we really take a conscious effort to shape a society where everyone can really work together. And for this, I want to thank also all of our partners that were here. I would like to thank Michael Illert. I would like to thank all of our partners that attended this event and made it the one that we really needed. Also for Gunüle for being from Teach First and sharing her story, from Professor Oliver Günther, who shared about education from University of Potsdam, from Carsten Senz joining us from Huawei, from Jendrik Peters talking about Kipachi, from Michael Illert actually being there a second time and also being in the panel and sharing his wisdom and ideas that he has. From Samir Kerkis from Leadership Hoch 3 and also shared his story. From Alexandra Robinson, who is our previous president of AIESEC International. From Insa Hake, who is our future president of AIESEC in Germany. And then also from Philipp Höfschröer, who joined us from Studo, which is also very appreciated having him here. And of course, in the panel also with Huawei of our 4 amazing AIESECers, which are Laura Uttermöhlen, which are Jonas Schüler, Max Dreyer, and Maria Jensen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for shaping this event to truly facilitate the journey that we are taking, for having a conversation, what it means to have qualities that embody a leader, that all these events is shaped around. I hope it gave everyone who is watching us the impression that leadership is important, that leadership is the solution, and with a conscious effort, it can be developed in anyone. And with this, I officially close the Youth Leadership Day. Thank you for tuning in. I wish all of you an amazing evening.